Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way being recorded. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. And yes, we are back for number 9 on the top 10 Wrestlemania match list of all time. Last week, of course, I started this series. I kicked it off with a bang with, of course, one of the most legendary matches of the Mega Powers exploding in WrestleMania 5. This week, we jump 11 years down the road to, of course, the year 2000, the new millennium, WrestleMania 16, aka WrestleMania 2000. And the number 9 match on the list is going to be none other than Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus Devon and Bubba Ray, the Dudley Boys, in the Triangle Ladder match from WrestleMania 16. Now, this is a match to me that has to be on here, and I know a lot of people will argue that the sequels were better, of course. This was the only one not under the TLC title. This was called a Triangle Ladder match, and it still stands that way to this day. Of course, as they went on, did the sequels at SummerSlam and WrestleMania 17, respectively, they got called TLC matches, which was a completely new thing that had never been done before in WWE or WWF. It was still WWF at this time. But this particular match, I always kind of argue that this one is the best because of what it did for the business and for where all 6 of these guys were coming into the match prior to the match. Of course, you look at Edge and Christian, who were best friends growing up. They both loved professional wrestling. They always wanted to be the World Tag Champions together. The Hardy Boys had actually worked their way through the business and were even, if you know your wrestling old school trivia enough, at King of the Ring 95, horrible pay-per-view, but if you look at the 2 guys opening the doors for the wrestlers to enter and exit the ring, it's Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. They had paid their dues and they had taken tremendous amount of chances and risks, and I always liked the differences between Matt and Jeff. Matt was definitely always more character-driven, whereas Jeff was death-defying and breathtaking and would do anything to be seen, in a similar vein of like a Mick Foley, right? There wasn't anything he wouldn't do to be seen on that show and be remembered on said show. And then, of course, you had Devon and Bubba Ray, the Dudley Boys, who had come from the hardcore world of ECW. And Devon, get the tables! They were as close as brothers could be. I guess they were playing half brothers, but they literally could not have felt any more like brother and like family that Devon and Bubba Ray did, respectively. And I always loved their work together. They were funny. I always thought they were entertaining. I loved the glasses with the no lens and the tape down the middle, the awesome theme song they would come down to the ring to. They were everything about hardcore wrestling, everything about Philadelphia, ECW, the bingo halls, and where you'd scratch and claw to try to gain your way or make your way. And that's why I love the Dudleys. So you have 3 tag teams here that were all making their WrestleMania debuts. None of them had previously appeared at WrestleMania. And before the match starts, you get the legendary promo from the Dudley Boys, from Bubba Ray, where he says, "Tonight, it's the new millennium. Tonight, the Dudley Boys, we take WrestleMania to a whole new level." And then they proceeded to go out there and, without a doubt, had the best match in pro wrestling for several. I would say the previous year, WrestleMania 15 was a letdown. It was not a great WrestleMania. And so was WrestleMania 2000. It's not a good WrestleMania. But if there's anything that anyone ever goes back to rewatch on this show, you bet your bottom dollar that it's this match. Because he really did promise and make a statement that they delivered on. And I don't know if everyone realizes that, but they took pro wrestling to a whole new level, right? Look at how much this influences down the road. We don't have TLC matches without this match. We don't have, I don't think, the Money in the Bank ladder match without this particular match. A match that could showcase your Kofi Kingstons, your Evan Bournes, your Shelton Benjamins, your, wrestlers that you're not quite sure where they're going to fit on the mid-card, but you pick one of them like Daniel Bryan, or you pick one of them like, CM Punk, these guys that were on the mid-card, on the bend of making the upper card, and then this briefcase could propel them into being these giant superstars, and look, a lot of those guys did, some of them didn't, but it was a nice kind of way to take this match and almost, okay, let's down the road, we'll modify this and we'll put a world title shot at stake, But this year was for the World Tag Titles, and I love the hunger that I see in this match. And Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler on commentary, they tell a great story of how these guys were all young, up and coming. They're hungry, they're fresh, they're new, they're wanting to make a change. Of course, Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys had worked in the late 1999 year, of course, for the services of Terry Runnels. They did these awesome tag matches in October at No Mercy, and just some great stuff. They really brought the ladder match really back to WWE because we really hadn't seen it all that much since like 1995, right, when Razor and Shawn had the rematch at SummerSlam. They kind of brought it back and innovated and made it a little bit more exciting. And man, in this match, the stuff that they do is just absolutely insane. I mean, to this day, it's aged like fine wine. It's insane, some of the stuff they do. We're 25 years later. I'm still sitting here talking about this match. So they did something right. There's Bubba bombs off the top. There's a point where Jeff Hardy's climbing the ladder. He gets speared while he's climbing the ladder off it. And then they tried to up that the next year, WrestleMania, where Jeff is hanging from the tag titles and Edge jumps from the top of a ladder on the other side of the ring to spear him in half. I mean, it's absolutely insane what these guys, were willing to do, what they were willing to do for their bodies. And I always felt that Jim Ross, the greatest commentator in pro wrestling history, he always made it so much more impactful and meaningful to me. Whereas he would always say, this is not just a big moment in their careers, but this would mean so much for their lives. And that's, again, another thing that, like, I think only Jim Ross can tell that story. They make you, no, this isn't just about their careers. This isn't just another night at the office for them. This is about their lives. This is a big moment in their lives. I love that. I think that stuff is absolutely fantastic. The storytelling there. There are also, I would say, being a big film fan myself, there are some great shots in this match. Like, to me, one of my all-time favorite wrestling shots, especially WrestleMania shots, is the point where Jeff Hardy, he's getting wailed on by Bubba Ray. I think Christian comes out, he stops it, and then somewhere or another, Bubba Ray lands up, on the table, lying in the weight. Jeff Hardy sets up this ladder, he climbs to it, and they're on the entranceway. And you see all of these fans, and you see the flash photography, bathed in light bulbs of these flash photography, as Jeff Hardy climbs to the top, does one of these, jumps off, and it looks like he fucking killed himself and Bubba Ray. I mean, it is one of the craziest spots of all time. It is absolutely insane, that particular spot. You're just like, holy cow, man. It looks like Jeff broke his tailbone, and he looks like he broke Bubba Ray Dudley in half. I mean, the way that they both sell that. All these guys could sell their asses off, too. Like, I always love Devon Dudley, the way he sells. Like, if he goes down, you'll see he'll start twitching, and like he's being electrocuted. Like, protect Devon Dudley at all costs, man. I love that guy. He's so much friggin' fun in this particular match. And then they kind of end it where all three of them have a team member in the ring. Devon gets twisted faded. It's Christian and Matt Hardy on top of these two ladders, and there's also a table in between as like to work as a platform for them to start wailing each other. Edge comes from behind, tosses Matt Hardy off. He does like a somersault through a fucking table on the outside, and Edge and Christian realize their boyhood dream as best friends, and of course capture the World Tag Team titles. It was such a cool full circle moment. It must have been for their friendship. Now I know WWE had billed them as brothers at this point. In fact, if you're certain broadcasts you listen to, you could still hear Jim Ross say, Edge has come to Anaheim with his brother Christian and won the tag titles. Of course, they're not really brothers, but again, they were closest brothers. Same with Devon and Bubba Ray, and then you had Matt and Jeff that actually were fucking brothers. So you have 6 brothers, right? And they're all really wanting to make their mark, prove their point, and they ended up stealing the biggest show of the year in one of the year's best commercial years. The year 2000 was one of WWE's best years, WWF's best years. Insane. It's really insane how much they not only made an impact, made a noise, they changed the business. And like, to me, a match like that has to be on a top 10 WrestleMania list. You went to the biggest show of the year, you stole it, and you changed wrestling forever. I mean, if this match is not on the list, I don't know what you're doing with your list. I'm sorry. And I know that, again, I know some people argue that the sequel, the next year's WrestleMania, is better because they did some crazier shit. They basically take this match and dial it up to 20. I don't mind the next year's match. I think it's good, but I actually always liked this match better. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the where they all were in their careers. Where this particular WrestleMania is definitely not as good as the following year's WrestleMania. So maybe that's why it stands out as a shinier thing on a lesser pay-per-view. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't know why. I've always preferred this match over the sequel, WrestleMania, of course, 17. And then, you also look at this match. Half of these guys went on to become world champion. Edge goes on to main event of WrestleMania. That might be on my top 10 list, just going to let you know. Christian goes on to win a world's title. And, of course, Jeff Hardy goes on to win a world's title. And Matt Hardy, I think, won every I don't know if you still count the ECW title as a world title because he did win that. I'm sure he was TNA champion at some point or another. So I don't know if those count. If those counts, 4 of the 6 of them. I don't believe Devon or Bubba Ray ever won a major world title, but dude, they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and I don't know if there's a tag team that's won the world tag titles more than them. So, one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team of all time. To me, a must-have on the top 10 WrestleMania list. It falls on my list at the number 9 because of its influence, because of its changing of the business, and because of 6 hungry guys that went out and decided we need to steal WrestleMania, and then they absolutely fucking did it. So to me, a no-brainer. This had to be on the list for me. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you watched this match, if you're a fan of the series of matches that these guys had, comment down below. Let me know. Should Edge and Christian have won all 3 of them? I don't think so. I would have definitely had each team win one. Like Edge and Christian winning this one, perfect. I would have had the Dudleys win the next one at SummerSlam, and I had the Hardys. I would have had the Hardys win it at WrestleMania 17. And it's like full circle. Each team got their moment to climb the ladder, raise the belts high in the sky, and shine like high in that moment. So I don't know. That's personally what I would have done as a booker. But no, Edge and Christian win all of them. So to me, you can't go wrong with the original here. You can't go wrong with the triangle ladder match from WrestleMania 2000, aka WrestleMania 16. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with number 8. And I'll give you a hint. It's from WrestleMania 31. Yes, WrestleMania 31. We're jumping all over the place. We went from 11 years. Now we're going to jump 15 years down the road to WrestleMania 31 next week with number 8. And we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace. Catch you later, everybody. Have a nice Saturday.